I'd like to begin by warmly welcoming you all to this very special occasion, a Goddard graduation. To our students who are graduating today, this ceremony is a public recognition of the many long hours you have devoted to mastering your art practice. We're here today to acknowledge your dedication and to celebrate your achievement. Stephanie, Joy, Lori, Katie, and Chanika, you represent to me a mosaic of qualities that I revere: intellectual curiosity, spirited physicality, creative passion, and great courage. Through the generous ways in which you have participated in this community, you have shown us that collectively we are larger than our individual selves. As our guest artist Lori Carlos put it last night, collaboration always makes the initial idea greater. Our initial idea for commencement didn't have any of that. To our members of the audience who have not been to a Goddard graduation before, it may be helpful to tell you what to expect. At Goddard, every student becomes his or her own valedictorian. This means that after our faculty advisors introduce them, each of our grads will say a few words. There's another tradition that we respect at Goddard, and that is to acknowledge that many of our graduates have been aided on their MFA journeys by the love and support of family and friends. So if you are a friend, family member, or a loved one of today's graduates, would you please stand or wave your hand so that we can recognize your support and express our gratitude. And now it is my pleasure to introduce a wonderful member of our faculty, a revolutionary community artist, and your commencement speaker. Ju-Pong Lin joined the faculty at Goddard College in 2003 after teaching for 7 years at Evergreen State College. She describes her mission as being to cultivate cooperative cultures of lifelong learning that respect the wholeness and complexity of our differences and dissolves as much as we are able the lines between human and non-human worlds. A member of the Apron Institute for Sustainable Living, Ju-Pong is currently developing a just sustainability curriculum in partnership with Rhode Island College. In her spare time, she is pursuing a PhD in environmental studies at Antioch University. Please join me in welcoming Ju-Pong.
Okay, there's not really enough room on this podium for tissues and water, so I hope this will be okay. Crossroads, intersections, nodal points, convergences. We are at a crossroads, and as many of us observed at our story circle Friday night, crossroads are dangerous places to be. I want to begin by turning to the family, friends, beloved community of our graduates. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts, the soles of our feet, for supporting our graduates to take this journey with us, for giving up precious hours and days so that they could travel here to help us co-create the beloved community that is the MFAIA in Port Townsend. You know that we have put your graduates, our graduates, through the ringer. You undoubtedly have witnessed their soul searching. Yes, soul searching is actually a degree criteria at Goddard. In faculty meetings, we use fancy academies and call it sustained inquiry and critical engagement and rigorous exploration. But what we mean is soul searching. And each of our graduates has done this. Each one climbed over precarious fences, opened creaky, imposing doors, and looked into scary, dusty basement corners that she might have avoided were she alone. But in this program, no one travels alone. We face the crossroads together. You and you and you and I are we. 23 years ago, I was at a crossroads, faced with a life-changing decision. Yesterday, April 12th, was the birthday of my older son, Chi. That year, 1992, snow fell on Iowa City in April, which my friends told me was a sign of good luck. I did not choose motherhood with intention. At the time, I felt I had lost my way, had just left a soul-sucking job and felt very much alone in the world. But the spirit of my child stopped me from ending my pregnancy. He had a message for me, and this was the message. You and I are not alone. You and I are we. Our decision, his and mine, for him to be born, launched a remarkable home birth attended by 9 women, 3 midwives, my chiropractor, 2 birth coaches, a photographer friend, and another friend who heard the call for all hands on deck. The birth of my son brought these 9 beautiful women to attend our home birth, and my somewhat estranged mother helped me to recover. I'm convinced that my pre-human son's spirit called together this circle of women to teach me the lesson of we. You and you and you and I are we. Now in the year 2014, the world is a complex, sometimes scary, vulnerable place. We humans have undeniably impacted the earth, changed the climate, irradiated and destroyed the soil, accelerated the 6th mass extinction of plant and animal species. Nobel laureate Paul Crutzen gave this epoch a name, the Anthropocene. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, reported last year that, quote, warming of the climate system is unequivocal. Undeniable, unequivocal, these words are used almost never in the scientific community. No debate, no denying it, no need for evidentiary excesses. There appears to be consensus in the scientific community that we have far exceeded the limits of the Earth's resources, and we have pissed off our mother. The spaceship Earth is warming, and there's no escape shuttle. Now, I have to turn to the graduates, who are probably giving each other sidelong glances and saying with their eyes, really? Is she really going to take us down into the doom and gloom? I know. I promised you an inspiring speech. Don't worry, we're only dipping our toes into the gloom for a minute. I'll get there. See, the issue is that scientists are arguing about when the Anthropocene started, with the Industrial Revolution or in the atomic age of the 1950s. They're preoccupied with how did we get here, which is important work, essential work. But while they're working on figuring out how we got here, artists are out there changing the story, imagining new worlds, sending our healing vibrations out and making new relationships. Our big challenge is that we have inherited some stories, master narratives, let's call them, that can damage the spirit and squash hope for change. We need to creatively disrupt these narratives. That's your charge, graduates, to change the narratives by which we live. I'll sketch out a couple of these. They will be familiar. The most common narrative of the Anthropocene is a conflict narrative, the story of humans against nature. Human creativity and innovation relies on exploiting natural resources. The more industrious and modern we are, the more nature declines. So now that we finally realize we're in big trouble, we need to face the possibility that we might be bringing about the extinction of our own species. The trap of this story is the trap of binary thinking. You often hear people say, well, we can't go back to the Stone Ages, as if we can only go forwards or backwards, as if the only choices are this way or that. Laurie's story of panarchy shows us there's a loopier solution, that time doesn't just flow in a linear direction, but that time-space is a continuum. Stephanie's resonant abstraction shows us that we make new roads by walking, that while some humans exploit nature, others are releasing the wild nature within us. Another master narrative is the wilderness narrative, the colonial story of discovery and new frontiers. Thoreau's Walden can be viewed in this way. Now, Thoreau's critique of industrialized life still sounds relevant in many ways today, and still resonates for many conservation-minded folks. But if we think about his story, he basically chose to opt out of industrial life. His story is a celebration of self-reliance, a hero's journey that many have found inspiring. But I would say, though, that it also perpetuates a cult of individualism. We really don't have the choice to opt out of the Anthropocene. I began with the story of my son's birth, the calling together of 9 women who attended me at his birth. That day I learned that I am not alone, that I is an illusion, as any Buddhist will tell you. Social scientist Ulrich Beck also tells us that identity as an I, as an individual, is an idea constructed by structures and institutions that gives us the illusion of being an agent of meaning. But it's an identity that serves corporations and institutions to whom we are asked to commit our loyalty. Think about consumer loyalty, shopping at Target or Walmart, where you feel shopping choices somehow make you who you are, can create your identity. This weekend, we experienced singing in Katie's choirs, affirming that a choir is not just a collection of individuals. In a choir, we find ourselves not alone, but raising our voices as we. In Joy's transformative somatic work, intentional groping movements reconnect people with place and connect us with each other. Chanaka's words showed us how she inscribed a counter-narrative to the institutional narrative of her as disabled. All of our graduates showed us that you and you and you and I are we. At this crossroads, at the end of the Holocene and the beginning of the Anthropocene, we need all artists to dive into the wreck, to embrace adventurous experiments in new ways of living. And I would like to now share a poem that I wrote for my son on his graduation day a couple years ago. I have what's called When in Doubt. When in Doubt. That comes from a Quaker tenet of coming to union, which is, when in doubt, admit at least to self that one could be wrong. I have on occasion doubted myself as a parent, and now on the eve of your departure, my firstborn, I doubt I have given you enough wisdom to burrow through bullshit, enough strength to wrestle with yourself, enough love to know your other. My few words of advice. When in doubt, remember that it was you all along who gave to me the gift of learning, to admit to my mistakes, to face my demons, to embrace failure, to forgive quickly. Remember that you were born encircled by 9 wise souls and welcomed onto this planet by snowfall in April, a sure sign of luck. Good luck to you, graduates.
Thank you, Ju-Pong.